Another lie about Ritual 7 in this episode is that Zarkaris Nigan, an officer in the landing party who was thought to have died during the mission, actually lived. This fills in because it also provides information about PIKE, whose demise I accept because he did not return to safeguard him. Zarkaris is a fascinating person. We'll call him Zach because it's easy to say that, but he especially needed more information to fully explain to the audience why he did what he did. His staff at Delta was made into his Sibyl, and apparently some Kaleid heroes took him in and made him their chief. He took control of the planet and effectively ruled it as the king, and he was able to equip his warriors with the equipment that had been left to him. As a SVA reference, I would act as Lord for a day. It would have been really entrancing to learn if he had done this during his dismissing and was not totally mindful of his exercises. That would have been extremely fascinating, in my opinion. A man who became a despot as a result of his distraction. Then, when he understood what he had done, he knew that he would have been pursued for abusing the superb order, assuming he had gotten back to Starfleet. So this is the way he expected to remain free and ultimately squeeze by. There was no way that could have occurred. There wasn't adequate there of psyche to ensure whether or not this was legitimate or was his certified assumptions. Another new feature in Riders of the Seven that was definitely not mentioned in the cage before is this exotic radiation that made you forget. To put it simply, this explains why we did not begin to feel the effects of radiation until much later in our time on Earth. Moreover, notices of advantageous times support this. They only talked about it for about 4 hours the previous time they were on the planet. 6 hours have passed before Lon actually feels the effects. For instance, they mentioned that the ship was not actually exposed to this strange radiation for an excessive amount of time because the last away team only spent 4 hours on it. Which would you say is a helpful Star Trip strategy for understanding the situation? It strongly recalls the straightforward explanation of the planet-specific plot threads that the Next Generation provided, or is used to construct the planet's castles, which protect the inhabitants from radiation. Additionally, the Kale of War is aware of the Orc, giving them valuable insight into how society works. Workers who forget and are submissive to the totem in their huts in exchange for information are employed by a ruling class to defend its castles. It would be fascinating to find out whether the castle in the cage came from Zach's castle or Zach Sirius's castle, which was further south. A nice little bit of lore would have been a single line of dialogue that said, "This Delta symbol is further north on our previous away team." This episode places a significant emphasis on forgetting one's identity. The way that such countless profoundly instilled ways of behaving have remained uncovers an incredible arrangement about our group's character. Because of that fundamental memory, Pike is able to return. He truly enjoys the story. Due to the fact that he has performed wound treatment multiple times, the Mengen is aware that he is an expert. Or takers can pilot a massive starship because piloting is now largely ingrained in her DNA.